I wish good things to you who's watching this. I am Alexey, and this is the last match of the playoff first round of the 2025 Carcassonne Champions League, where we're gonna see a clash of two masters, Portgard of Vietnam, Glovir of Portugal, both very skilled players, rated currently in their low 600s, Glovir a little bit higher with 631. And the winner will advance to the round of 16, where Ilya Slonimsky is already waiting for them. And the loser will get eliminated. It is a best of 3 as usual, so the format is very straightforward. I don't have much predictions about this game. I would say that the level of the players is quite even when it comes to their rating and their accomplishments. Well, definitely Glovir has been around the block a little bit more. He has played for the national team for a couple more years, has also won a notable in-person event, the 2024 Mindsport Olympiad event in London. So maybe because of that, I will put them as a 55% favorite. As you see, Portgard also with 1,300 games of experience, Glovir with 2,700, so significantly more. But other than that, should be an even and a high-level matchup. The game has already been started. Not yet, it has been created, but it's going to be started in just 1 minute or so. So the best that we can... No, let's not do that. Let's just go refresh Portgard's page again. Both players are in fact online, and still the game yet to be started. I'm sure it's gonna show up in due course. Alrighty, what are we having? So Portgard with the red meeple to get the starting player advantage starts a road, and yellow, that's Glovir, with an unorthodox response. So most players respond by playing the crossroads to the right. He chooses to play the crossroads at the bottom. Now quite an easy decision for the Vietnamese player, or not? It's a bit of a surprising move. I'm not sure exactly, because normally what you're expected to do here is to cover up and not allow this meeple some pressure, right? But as a result, Portgard, I guess, was just eager to go on the scoreboard a little bit earlier, right? And so he just took 2 quick points. But that psychological advantage is vanished, as Glovir completes a 6-point city on his own. Yeah, that's interesting with those openings. So whenever your opponent makes an unorthodox response, and it's not necessarily wrong, it's just something that you see much, much rarer at the start of a Carcassonne game, then sometimes it is a bit difficult to respond and find the best move. So just a little interesting detail here. Both players enjoying a roughly equal position. This meeple looks a bit restricted, but not really, because there are all kinds of tiles that fit into this square. There are 3 kinds of tiles and 3 kinds of each, and 3 tiles of each of those kinds, so 9 tiles fit in this square. But now, interesting draw for Glovir, as Portgard with this cow tile has kind of really taken away a lot of space. There are only 2 legal placements for this monastery, so we could go here at the top, or we could go here at the bottom. Neither of these placements are particularly great, Probably knowing yellow, he's gonna not do that. No, it can't. No, it can't be right. I don't like it. Because this monastery just gets blocked much easier, but apparently portgard does not want to do it. I think that was a bit of a waste, if I'm completely honest. Like, as red, I think red missed the opportunity to place the Dorito over here and basically set up a block of that square. Rather easy block, actually. Yeah, this monastery, first of all, was blockable, but anyway, sort of Glovir survived this. Second, it's still blockable because of this square. And it's really awkward to place monasteries next to shared features, because then eventually yellow will be forced to place a tile over here, a valuable tile, because that's going to be a city tile, without much benefit to himself other than not losing his monastery meeple. It also needs to be pointed out that the only one tile that fits into this square, as 3 out of the 4 field crossroads have gone out. So a long-term meeple disadvantage could be a problem, but why not we get the 1 in 50 chance and draw the tile immediately? So a great tile for Glovir and a turn of events. Like, this changes the game position so much. With that extra meeple, he can inflict so much damage. And so portgard sacrifices 3 points just for the teeny chance of maybe starting to block him. A bit surprised about some of these moves, and we get a very complicated position at the start because, like, it's very blocky, lots of roads, lots of cities, not a lot of green squares, and those positions are quite tricky to play. But both players are quite blitzing through their moves. This yellow monastery still yet to be justified. But 17 points on the scoreboard is something that our Portuguese fans should be really happy to see. Hi Helge, hi Ian, hi Vika, hi Andres, hi Nalaheim. Quadruple city tile for portgard. Some great options here, actually. Not that one, I think, but okay, we can do it. I think there was a stronger idea here, so he just simply unifies the 2 cities, and the purpose of this move is prevents Glovir from getting a splitter and getting his meeple back for 4 points and leaving this awkward red city. But red has a riskier but stronger long-term idea, kind of going with this tile over here, then trying to block that square, and then sneak all the way around, connect all the ruins, and get himself a 2 versus 1 majority due to this blocked meeple. Then, of course, he could even block the monastery of reds, all kinds of things possible. Actually, he can still block the monastery of red if he so chooses. Instead, he starts a new road for 3 points, but also makes the monastery safer in the process. The second monastery, really only 1 square where it fits, kind of neutralizing your opponent's monastery, so this is a move that we will no doubt see. I can also see a move going like this, foregoing the monastery and trying to put some pressure on this square, because you see what red is setting up, yellow is setting up. He wants to draw a splitter and gets himself a 10-point city, whilst leaving portgard with these pieces of junk. So it's a threat which is not that likely to be executed because there's only 2 splitters and there are still 3 Doritos and 3 cow tiles, so 6 tiles that fit into this square for the unification of the cities. But unless this is taken care of at some point, then Glovir is likely to draw a splitter sooner or later. Straight line for the Portuguese player. He starts a 2-point road with the intention of turning a loop like this, and this will now work like a charm. But portgard, with a super important Dorito tile, finishes himself a 10-point city and obstructs a little bit this attacking meeple of Glovir. Now, Glovir makes a move which surprises me a little bit. He forgoes the splitter idea. Perhaps he knew that his opponent had a splitter in hand, somehow felt it, And this is what top players are really good at, that sort of feeling that now it's time to react to a certain threat. But I think there was another idea here, so he was thinking of drawing back-to-back triangle tiles, kind of trying to connect with a third meeple into the city. It now won't work, but a little tactical gain has been made. Because of that threat, Red decided to spend the tile on a shared feature, simply dropping the splitter here. So this is already a win worth 2 points for Glovir, and he's just going to try and get himself a peaceful 8-point looking city. And with that, renew his lead on the scoreboard. Vietnam with a curve. Could continue his monastery, could also start blocking this square. Actually, that would be really strong, but this is even stronger. Blocking Glovir city, or at least limiting the tiles that fit there. Now a city plus road tile is needed both here and here. But the city plus field tile is still utilized by yellow to score some points. Portgard starts a city at the bottom, trying to put pressure on this square, but Glovir gets a meeple back from a different place. Now already 8 points ahead on the scoreboard, but Portgard gets 4 points on the scoreboard and a meeple back, and now severely restricts this square. Actually, I say severely, but there are still 3 dagger tiles left. Well, one of them is drawn by Portgard, which I presume was the plan all along. He has this very sneaky setup idea. Let's see if he sees it. So this square of his road is super vulnerable given the fact that all 4 triple crossroads with a field have gone out. So he could actually protect this square towards one of the 2 remaining umbrella tiles and then try to draw it and not only get his road meeple back but also score 4 points for this little city piece over here. That's about the best that I can see. 75% is a really good chance at this level. If I were playing a lower rated opponent, I would be considering maybe not doing it and just sacrificing the meeple, but it's really nice to have that 75% setup, which is exactly why he does it. Glovir is expected to have probably long-term meeple minority, but actually not really. So Portgard has 2 tiles to get his meeple back here, and Glovir has 2 tiles to get his meeple back here. So overall, I have to prefer yellow's position. Red is now trying to block the meeple permanently. It does not quite work, as he gets his own meeple tangled up. Oh, come on. Really? So Portgard decides to take 4 points, but then allow this meeple to be saved. That's actually a very interesting decision there, and one that he spent way too little time on. So the upside of this move, we're taking 4 points. The downside, this square is now protected, and Glovir has a chance, a reasonable chance, I was going to say, to draw the last dagger tile. The problem also is that the last dagger tile is incredibly impactful. It will be not only an 8-point city, but also a 12-point field. In situations like this, what you want to do here as Portgard is sometimes drop a farmer somewhere here or here in anticipation, but he can't really do that when he only has 1 meeple. So a lot in this game will depend on when exactly Red draws this key tile. Note that pressure is being put on the yellow meeple at the top, which is why yellow even sacrificed a monastery tile just for pure defense. If he were not to do that, then this square would have been completely blocked towards a crossroads, which are no longer in the deck. But curves, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 2 of those are still in the deck, and those would be incredibly impactful. Those would give Glovir 6 points on the scoreboard and a meeple back for this road, and they would expand his farmer from 6 points to 12 points. It's really one of those games where meeple count is incredibly important, and this crossroads has strategic significance as Portgard gets himself a 6-point road, the lead on the scoreboard, and a meeple back again. And now again he can start and drop farmers, but not now as Glovir manages to get himself a road meeple back before portgard is able to meeple the other part of the field. But you know what he can do? He can actually just go here and drop a farmer like this with the intention of connecting to this farm through his crossroads city tile. That would be a very efficient way to do this. This would, of course, be basically accepting a loss any time that you fail to draw one of the two crossroads. But at this point in the game, the probability of drawing the crossroad is kind of approaching 80% already. Somewhere in the range of 77, 78 at the moment. Red's thinking about this. He possibly thinking about continuing his city. It would make it a bit more vulnerable to a block, but actually it's a bit harder to block than it might seem. There's only one curve available, and there are 3 straight lines. And let's say if Glovir gets a straight line or something, then this restriction will really not be a big deal because there's still 2 vanilla city cap tiles. It seems to me that maybe they could be the play. We could first of all use the valuable tile to create a threat to complete a city, and then we try and deal with the rest. Yeah, actually I really like this, because there's still road tiles available, quite a lot of those, and so ideally I want to be using a road tile to drop farmers. The situation's really, really even. I mean, Glovir is looking to be in good shape because he has 4 points extra on the scoreboard and all these threats. So portgard does go for the farmer afterwards, cannot blame him. I do think it is a little bit inefficient. So does he have other ways of finishing his city? So normally this city of such a shape can be finished with 3 Doritos, but I don't think we have 3 Doritos in the deck. Also notes that had portgard made this move, they would have already finished the city, or at the very least they would have forced Glovir to sacrifice 3 points and use 3 points for blocking, which I don't think they would have even done. Okay, now the Portuguese player has a great move available to them. Actually, I'm not sure how great it is. Yeah, this option is also possible. 2 points are 2 points are 2 points. But also thinking maybe potentially meepling this road and forcing 5 points compensation in case portgard does in fact get one of his 2 key tiles and connect. Now red with a monastery tile, looking to either use it to set up a blocking platform on the right, or maybe just add himself a monastery point. He cannot really meeple this farm at the bottom, because he needs a meeple to score for the city cap. Glovir decides to meeple the farmer at the bottom straight away, and he will get his 9 points. And he still has a pretty good chance of drawing one of these key tiles to get him back a meeple here or here. Straight line for Glovir, though, cannot do nothing much. He obstructs portgard city a little bit, but portgard gets the first umbrella tile and gets all these juicy scoreboard points. Now, will Glovir get one of his 2 key city caps to get a meeple back? He needs a dagger or he needs this tile, and he gets neither of those. The dagger is drawn by portgard. He has a variety of moves available. He should be taking down the first game, I think, because he's ahead at the moment. Actually, he's behind 2 points at the moment, but he has 2 meeples, so it should be quite easy for him to score. Oh wait, never mind, I forgot something. He's 5 points behind. Okay, wait, let me check about this. So these 3 cities equalize, Actually, no, this monastery has 1 point more. 1 point more for yellow, okay. Oh, wait. I don't think it actually matters because the tiles remaining are the umbrella tile and the road monastery. The road monastery is still in the game. And it is going to be drawn by portgard to win himself a big field of 16 points. But even if it were not to be drawn by portgard, Glovir actually didn't have a good use for the monastery. Yeah, that is a rough start for the Portuguese player. So certainly unfortunate tile draws, because remember we had this key position with this restricted meeple here and this restricted meeple here. And what typically happens in a position like this is that when both sides have a 75% chance of recovering a meeple, then typically the side... well, typically both sides do recover a meeple, but in this case, portgard drew both the tiles that he needed and the tile that Glovir needed, and it was something that was quite difficult to deal with. So 13 points is the difference. Still was a close game towards the end. Let's see if the Portuguese master can hang on to this championship a little bit longer. A reminder to y'all that this is the best of 3, so if this goes wrong for Glovir, it could be his last game of the tournament. So you're gonna need some of Portuguese support in the chat. Do let me know, by the way, who you're rooting for. At this time of day, I probably would expect more Portugal supporters than Vietnam's. Actually, no, I would kind of expect the opposite. In any case, Glovir is the starting player now, and they start the game with 10 points for 2 completed cities. Certainly not too shabby. And already quite a decent advantage. Portgard does not get the most exciting tile in the world. Simply covers up his farm a little bit from invasion. Glovir with a rather straightforward mistake. I wonder why he would do that. So what you're supposed to do in the situation when you meeple parallel diagonal city caps like this, you're supposed to turn them the other way to restrict the other city cap a little bit more. So instead, 3 points and a road end was delivered to portgard. I think this wasn't an oversight. I think it was on purpose. He must have considered some positional benefits as a result of this. But there were several other good reasons why it was much better to go for this move. It would also take out this monastery spot, leaving only this monastery spot on the board. In any case, 4 points ain't no big deal. Yellow still ahead. And our neutral fans should be rooting for yellow here, because if yellow wins, we get ourselves a decider yet again. Hi, Hugo. Well, your support is working as the Portuguese player gets himself a 12-point city. Although this 12-point city was a result of portgard's mistake, of course. Basically, when your opponent has a city like this, it's really, really bad to leave a city cap next to his city, just because this Dorito plus Dorito combo is so likely to occur. So we do see some opening and precisions, mostly from the part of a Vietnamese player. But despite the 18-point lead on the scoreboard and the new monastery right in the heart of this board, this game could get really interesting as portgard is trying to use his, what was his meeple majority at the time to try and take a stronghold on the field. And if these fields unify, 15 points could belong to the Vietnamese player. The problem with that idea is that Glovir is really good at something that's called fieldless wins. So if he gets enough advantage on the scoreboard, then he will just simply stop fighting for the field altogether. And it looks like we're headed into that territory, as the monastery for red was of course Great Hope, but it immediately gets equalized by yellow's monastery. But these 7 points with a city cap are certainly super, super nice. Well, they're 4 points now, but they're expected to become 7 points a little bit later. So it seems to me that Glovir will probably have to drop a farmer still, and portgard can still win this with a majority of farmers. Glovir can drop a farmer right now, which he does, but then this square is a little bit vulnerable with only one starting tile remaining, and this is something that the Vietnamese player is trying to take advantage of. Some restrictions are being produced unsuccessfully. Yeah, this move here is really strong by the red player because it restricts the city, it pre-finishes the monastery, and it also protects this square. One idea that Glovir has in this position is to actually do something like this right now and try to limit the square towards one of the two remaining umbrella tiles. And if you do stick a curve in like this will make sure that this farmer will never get into this big field. But the problem with that idea is that it would make his own square here too vulnerable. So instead he just builds up the city on the right, and portgard is now trying to play against these two meeples. Now also trying to block this meeple as well. This is also going to be Sophie's Choice block. Well, actually no, not really, because different daggers are needed in different places. Glovir with 17 points ahead on the scoreboard, but the meeple disadvantage is a bit concerning. Ooh, I wonder if as Glovir we ever go here and finish our opponent's city just to keep that farmer emboxed. On the other hand, this farmer will be at comfortable 9 points, which is completely equal to the top field, so it's really not a big deal that they unify. The advantage of the top field, of course, is that it has expansion potential and some other cities that could be completed there. So the Portuguese player just simply drops himself a 2-pointer, tries to keep the scoreboard going. Vietnam is looking for a 4-pointer here, or maybe a blocky move. I prefer the 4-pointer. The block is not that painful, actually. There's still 2 daggers that fit into this square, and red really, really needs to score. Now, a strong move available for red. Oh, okay, that one too. Actually, there's only a 50-50 chance of this farmer getting connected, but one thing that he didn't take in mind is that yellow can still go here and try connect like this. So in fact, yellow does not have 1. Yellow has 3 connection tiles still available. So if red wants to fully block this farmer, he will need to not only draw a starting tile, but also restrict this square as well towards the starting tile. And he cannot do that with a straight line, as he only slightly restricts this square, but another straight line is drawn by yellow, so he has his little field here, and he can now penetrate the main field through a variety of these sources. Okay, portgard now gets himself a meeple back by finishing his road, but he also finishes yellow's monastery. He does not finish his city, but he continues it with some decent chances of drawing a tile here that helps with expansion. There are 2 Doritos with the road. There's 1 horse available. So red is slightly more likely to draw a tile that fits into this square before Glovir gets one of his daggers. This is also why I was saying why the block here was not that dangerous. Glovir gets himself a dagger tile and drops another farmer. So he's ahead 41 points on the scoreboard and ahead in the field fight. And he still has 2 tiles to complete this 8-pointer here. It is an incredibly difficult position for the Vietnamese player, but one in which he still has chances. How do we win this exactly? So if I'm red, I want to pool all the resources into the field. So actually, I really dislike this move by red. It is creating a counter field of 6 points. So once the city is completed, then with the lead that Glovir has, he will be able to simply relinquish the field and just meeple a counter field for 9 or 6 points at the bottom. What he should have done is simply gone here and started a new city like this. Also, very interesting move from Guillermo here. He actually chooses not to invade the field simply in order not to give portgard a meeple back. So this is now completely blocked. So both monasteries are completely blocked. This farmer is still cut off from the main field, but there's still 2 daggers that allow the connection into the field. Red is threatening to block the square permanently as a horse tile was drawn by him a couple of moves ago, but he still just does not seem to get the right tile to do that. Portgard defends his city. Glovir defends his city. Portgard with a monastery, which is normally a great tile, but just no good uses for a monastery. Actually, wait a second. Maybe can we just go here and drop a farmer? We have to start dropping farmers left and right. We have to assume that we're going to be lucky, that we're going to get both daggers to get ourselves a city cap, to deny this farmer, and maybe even finish the city. Like, if there's a way to finish the city, which I believe there is, for example, 2 Doritos in a city cap, this is all possible, and then we also win the field, yeah, then we probably win the game, actually. So we can make up for 40 points that way. And 2 daggers is really not that unlikely of a draw. Instead, he meeples a 6-point monastery, which is misguided in this case, because he's not going to finish this monastery. And why score 6 when you can score 18? Well, finally, the block is completed here, but it also makes it harder for red to finish his own city, and Glovir gets a different city cap tile, the umbrella tile over there. So that's looking really good. Yellow now is going to attack this ruin, of course. Ruin/city, just trying to prevent any ideas of completing it, which were still technically possible, like 2 Doritos and 2 city caps. This was still up in the air. So you really want to invade it, just to be extra sure. Oh, thank you for correcting me that there's only 1 left-handed dagger. Yeah, I missed the moment when red was drawing this. Yep, you see an invasion is occurring. And so what does portgard even do? Does he go here to block the connection? But then he would even be adding points to his opponent's side of the ruin. Yeah, it looks like it's going to be complete destruction here. Glovir with a scoring tile. has a chance to bring this scoreboard lead to something that's completely defies human decency. Instead, he chooses to make a blocking move, which doesn't work, as portgard immediately draws himself a tile to continue the city, which is exactly what he does. But now Glovir is either going to connect the two cities to get himself more points, or he could simply break portgard city, sacrifice a bunch of points. Yep, this is exactly what he's doing. Simply to deny him a meeple and cruise towards victory. And at this point, there's simply not enough city caps in the deck to complete Red's ambitious construction project. Well, actually, wait, there are. There are! But Glovir draws one of them. Now he needs to do some careful counting, deciding whether he needs to block the city. I don't think he needs to, because I just don't see... Oh, wait a second. He actually has to block, because you know what's remaining? This tile over here. There's one of those. So he has to go here and deny this guy points instead of scoring himself. So a lot of points sacrificed for Glovir to block the city, and that was also unsuccessful. So first of all, 3 points sacrificed here, unsuccessful. Then 2 points plus 5 points opportunity cost, 7 points sacrificed to not allow this guy to retrieve a meeple immediately, and now he's going to sacrifice 4 more points to block here. So as a result, Glovir has sacrificed 14 points to prevent his opponent from finishing the city. And his opponent will not finish the city, but then 14 points extra is really a lot. So normally this would of course make a big difference, but with this much of a lead on the scoreboard. Okay, well this road meeple was a little bit extra. Maybe Glovir forgot that he still had a tile to play. In any case, the block was concluded, as it should. And a big, important win for the Portuguese player, despite not taking over the field. Just the early scoring onslaught, part with some really good tiles, part held by portgard a little bit. So definitely this city was a cooperative effort. Something to think about, just leaving those dangling city caps around in the opening. 39-point difference, so something that's really nice to have for Glovir heading into the decider. It's not just about equalizing the score. Of course, equalizing the match score was super important, but doing so in a way where you didn't have to think that hard, where kind of the position plays itself, that feels really, really nice, and that can save all the mental energy for the decider. Let's see if this is what makes a difference. portgard now with the starting player advantage, but Glovir already with 4 points from the city on the scoreboard. The Vietnamese player with the straight line, looking to go here actually. I don't think in this case we go here, because this move, even though you're spreading yourself a bit thin with 2 meeples on 2 roads, the value of breaking this loop is actually really important, because breaking this loop also indirectly protects this square, which is in Red's strategic interest. Because the more restricted the square, the safer this square. Like, as soon as yellow fills in a tile over here, then blocking opportunities will be available. Players are already exchanging pleasantries in the chat, and I have to agree with them. Both players have had a good run, making it to the final 24. One of them is going to make to the final 16. And it looks like the Portuguese player, based on the current position, is a bit more likely to do that. even though he's going to have this statistical disadvantage towards the end of the game when it comes to all those tile drawing probabilities because he's the second player, the extra points on the scoreboard, which are no longer extra, which were now extra again as he completes a 3-point road, but mainly this monastery makes yellow's position really, really good. Like, this tile is controlling 2 of these meeples with quite sensitive squares. He can even go here now. Yeah, exactly. He knows his stuff, trying to further increase the vulnerability of this square. But great draw for red as he gets to try and get away with a 14-point city with the support of an additional meeple on the right. Glovir missing here, I think, a move. He had a chance to simply score 2 points and try and create a blocking threat against this square. I don't think he simply saw this idea. Also, this sort of, well, this actually would have kind of worked. Now, Glovir does not drop a farmer, surprisingly, and I believe portgard is going to drop a farmer. None of them drops farmers. Why is that the case? I'm so curious. Because this field is looking to be a 12-pointer in the end if both of these cities are completed. So both players with their threats, they're focused on building their own stuff as opposed to blocking each other. Well, I wonder if portgard goes here to try and break yellow's city. A move which I normally don't like, because breaking your opponent's small cities is really not important at all. You got to break your opponent's big cities, but he can't really do that. I mean, he can do this, but it really doesn't do much. It only allows for this pattern, like an extended lip-shaped city or alien lips, or it looks like a surprised March hare, something like this, with a speech bubble. Anyway, I was trying to draw like the triple cities and the Doritos over here, so this possible completing pattern is just trying to explain why there's really no good move in this position. Yeah, he does go for the breaking of the cities simply for lack of better options, but immediately Glovir is going to cover up, and all that's going to happen is just simply this guy's going to get extra points. In order for these blocking moves to be worth it, either the blocking probability has to be really good, or this city has to be big enough for it to be important. Glovir now starts a 4-point road with the idea of also indirectly protecting his city. I'm also surprised that he's not keen to recover his meeple, because the highest scoring move was actually to place a curve over here and gets himself a farmer early on. portgard now tries to cover up his road from one side, now also building up his city, but Glovir is building up his. Well, now surely we're going to see a farmer. It's a really juicy field there. The downside of this move, he's exposing a connection platform to his city, and the Vietnamese player immediately uses it. An annoying move against this road meeple, against the city meeple here. Because yellow only has 2 meeples, he chooses not to meeple a road. Yellow, with a city cap tile, a variety of important moves. He goes for the city completion effort. I love that. That is not easy to see, but I think this is in fact the priority in this situation. He is about to get blocked, but he's trying to indirectly protect himself just in time. portgard with a city tile of his own. He's 1 tile away from finishing his city. Glovir does not get himself an attacking tile. Will this mean a big lead for the Vietnamese player? Maybe. He does not get to finish his city, but he gets to cover it up from invasions. But maybe this is something that I like actually seeing as Glovir, because it gives me more time to block that city, or maybe not. How about a dagger tile immediately? The Vietnamese player now is substantially ahead by completing an 18-point city and getting himself a meeple back. Glovir with a difficult position, but some saving grace. He goes for a second monastery, tries to be extremely aggressive. Well, now it's, I guess, time to get a meeple back, or maybe not. Yeah, he needs to protect his city, still leaving 2 tiles that fit into this square. Portgard is just scoring left and right. And Glovir gets himself a city back. This is a huge, huge city for 12 points. Strategic significance here. But Portgard has a chance to make a vicious move, going over here, saving his monastery from a block, dropping a farmer trying to connect to this 12-point field, and also putting a lot of pressure on this meeple, given yellow's meeple shortage. This is really the only move that I see in this position. Anything else short on that is just not that strong. There's still 4 straight lines remaining, and you see, going here also creates another threat. If red also places a meeple over here, he'll be able to get in 2 farmers with just 1 move. So it's a very tricky situation here. Oh, there's of course the farming platform at the top, which he also must be considering, like going for the 9 points here. But this is the priority, because this is time sensitive. Glovir still has combos something like city cap plus city cap that both block this square and get his own meeple out of harm's way. So this monastery has to be saved. And then, given the fact that we have the meeple advantage, from the perspective of Vietnamese player, who, by the way, does find the move, but Glovir, with a very, very timely dagger tile that actually gives him a fighting chance in this game with an extra meeple. Portgard now has to forget about this city. No. Time-sensitive stuff. He really had to go over here for a farmer, which I have no doubt Glovir is now going to do. Like, you really have to equalize here. And try to drop more meeples. It's a question of how you orientate the city tile. Below appears to be the better move for a variety of reasons. But yeah, no 4-point cities. This is where we farm and farm only. This is what I expect. And a little imprecision from Glovir. I really, really don't like the orientation of the city cap, just because what it exposes. Pointing down is always the move there. Still, the crucial decision is, of course, to drop the farmer in the first place. Now a 12-point field up for grabs. Both players are completely equal, but the difficulty here for Glovir's position is the fact that he's short on meeples. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. There's only 1 curve remaining. And I wonder if he just has to go for the 12-point field. Like, maybe he has to. Because it's just unbelievably juicy. I know it's our last meeple, but I just hate leaving this to my opponent. And then if I go here, but then if I do go here, how on earth do I get a meeple back? I either need to draw a bunch of roads. Yeah, he goes for it anyway, and I have to agree. It's a very unpleasant decision to be making. Especially now that our opponent has done what they have done. Well, he does get a meeple back, but at a price. Because you see, you actually don't really want to get yourself another farmer there. Because as a result of unification of these fields, he's no longer scoring twice for these guys. But then he also has the stronghold on the field. So now that he has 3 farmers positioned, then a straight line really just does not accomplish anything for Portgard. And also this 7-pointer must help him immensely. He's also now trying to build up his monastery whilst also blocking the city here. Portgard gets a straight line and at the very least completes a monastery. A big scoreboard lead here. Well, 8 points for the Vietnamese player. But the stronghold on the field, actually, that's what might do it for Guillermo here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 24 points. 24 points. It's really, really a lot. So a lot in this game will depend on whether portgard successfully completes his city, and he does. This will mean a lot to his scoreboard, as these 8 points and a 6-point farmer is, well, it's a lot. It's really, really a lot. It actually now allows him to go for an imbalance and try win this game without the field, and even a better tile for the Vietnamese player. Now things are looking suddenly quite grim for Glovir, but he gets to score 6 points, 3 for the city, 4 for the farm, -1 for the monastery. 17 points is the lead of the Vietnamese player on the scoreboard. The two monasteries are roughly equal each other. The field is worth 27. But this 6-point farm and this 5-point road are actually slightly outscoring the remainder of the scoreboard leads, so portgard is currently now ahead. So what Glovir needs to do is either finish his monastery with some sort of city plus road tile, which I think is still existent. I can see a dagger at the very least. Or somehow develop his field, or both. It's going to come down right to the wire. portgard has a decision to make. He could either go over here and develop his field normally, or he could actually go and fight for the city at the bottom of his last meeple, and given the fact that there's still a bunch of Doritos available, this might be not the worst idea. 3 Doritos. No, 3 Doritos, exactly. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, 3 Doritos, 3 tiles that fit into this square. But then also he has some outs to get meeples back. I kind of like that idea. Although you really hate to spend your meeple for just 1 point, the chances of Glovir drawing 3 Doritos are just so incredibly unlikely. And this city is so difficult to block that I think that this is our path to victory from the perspective of a Vietnamese player. It's just having too many threats. Because I guess what Glovir would need to do in order to win in this case, he would need to draw the Dorito and then block this square. Yep, he goes for it. He goes for it. So, okay, so probably this is what we're seeing. Glovir gets the first Dorito. He will be now either trying to block here, or maybe simply trying to draw the other 2 Doritos. How exactly does he proceed? Because the problem with the blocking idea is that if portgard gets a road tile, that's already 2 points in a meeple back, and that actually could put the game within reach. So you really got to pick your battles here and decide, is our position this bad that we have to hope for the last 2 remaining Dorito? He says no. He needs to block, but this gives time portgard to get the 2 points in a meeple back. That is why this was so problematic here. And he doesn't even get a blocking chance anyway. So maybe going here first was actually the idea, and then trying to block portgard's city invasion. Because the Vietnamese player is still ahead and they're now tied on meeples. Glovir gets himself a 5-point road, simply not allowing portgard to score too much. But portgard is going to get himself 3 points extra. That was the issue with these decisions here. So the possible sequence was, we block the monasteries, then on the next move we place the straight line over here, and then we try and get the road Dorito for a block. Like, that would be the sequence. Welp. Yeah, Glovir sort of restricts that city towards the 1 remaining field Dorito. A 50-50 chance of red drawing it, but I don't think it's going to even make a difference, as red scores simply too much. Simply too much with the tiles that are available to him. And portgard gets the Dorito, but of course a bit too late, that it's now no longer possible to take these city points, and it turns out that the threat is stronger than the execution. Even though red never connected, yellow spent an extraordinary effort trying to deal with it. that yellow, despite his ginormous field, is going to lose the game and cease participation in the tournament. $10 points is the final difference, just because portgard scored so much. Let's actually see how much he got. So 2 points plus a meeple. Then with the new meeple, he got 3 points extra. That is 5. And then for this ruin, that is 7. So he got actually 12 points in his couple of moves. If we were to block the monastery, and even if portgard were to connect to the city, he would only get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. He would only get 10 points. So trying to block the city, Glovir ended up losing more points than he would have conceded even if the city connection were complete. So that was the main issue of this move. Yeah, it's a tricky endgame to figure out, but I think from yellow's perspective, he should have really taken more time and figure out like how exactly, like what are his exact winning tile combos. Because let's say if you use the Dorito over here, which he did, from his perspective, knowing the remaining tiles, which were straight line, crossroads, 1 city cap, and 2 Doritos, or something like this. These were the tiles. I missed. Oh yeah, okay, there was an extender as well. So 5 out of 7 tiles available to him were high impact tiles. So either portgard immediately connects to the city, in which case there's nothing much that we can do, or we lose. Or no, what I was gonna say. Yeah, or he gets the monastery meeple back, and in both of these cases we lose. And this seems to be just way too much to be hoping for. And in any case, he would need to hope that portgard would draw something ridiculous like a city cap first, which would allow him neither to finish the monastery nor to block the city, and then the extender later. Because there are only 2 useless tiles in a 7-tile deck for portgard. And the chances of that happening were astronomically small. There's one other idea that I think the Portuguese player might have missed. If portgard were to successfully connect and do so with a field Dorito, which is in fact the most likely Dorito to be drawn, then Glovir still had a chance to get either the extender or even the last city cap tile to go over here and reconnect to the city with his last move, going over here, and even scoring for the farm by completing a shared city for 3 points. So this seemed to be indeed the crucial mistake that led to a loss. And I'm not even sure if he would have won if he were to go over here. I think with the tile run out, he might. Yeah, exactly. Look at this. So he goes here. A straight line cannot be used productively by portgard. Then Glovir's straight line is used here. The crossroads cannot be used productively by portgard. Maybe he defends toward a 50-50 something or whatever. Glovir draws the Dorito that portgard needed. The other Dorito by portgard cannot be used at all. Yeah. And then portgard scores 11 fewer points than they did in the game. And Guillermo scores only 1 fewer points, so he wins by a tie. Well, it's not easy. It's only easy when you see all the tiles afterwards and you know the outcome of the game and you know the run out, that you can see yourself the path to victory. But it was also something very psychological difficult thing to do, because this city is like reasonably big. It's 10 points, and you see that as a real threat. The monastery completion, it's sort of teeny tiny, so you don't think of that as a threat. But getting 2 points in a meeple back was just as good, as, if not better. Compared to connection to the city. Also, credit really goes to portgard for playing this position right towards the end. With a splitter tile, an intuitive move is simply to drop a splitter into his own field, hoping for the last remaining city cap, but he figured out that he has 2 of these threats, and it's very difficult for Glovir to stop both of them. Hi Glovir, commiserations to your loss. I'm not sure if the mistake was to join 2 high-scoring fields, because... No, actually I think that was fine. So this move, it gave you minus 10 points, right? So because you gave 2 points to your opponent, and then you scored... What'd you score? Oh yeah, and then you lost these here farming points. But that extra meeple, I would have to say, is worth more than 10 points. Because there were so many valuable tiles still in the deck, and it was quite difficult for yellow to recover his meeple. And in fact, after that position, yellow was in really good shape. Because portgard, in order to get his lead, his slight lead at the time, needed to draw both of these monasteries. So that was both of these monasteries and this stuff as well. So in order to go for that fieldless win, really a lot of things needed to happen for red. And even then, the game was winnable afterwards, as we discovered. So actually, I like this move over here, just because staying without a meeple for too long could hurt. And also, if you keep your field separate, then they're vulnerable to attack, and now suddenly your opponent has all kinds of field paths in order to win. I don't know, they can maybe set up some sort of farming connection through here or a curve, or they can go YOLO and drop a farmer hoping for a road monastery with the cross, or they can go here and try to connect with the last... Well, anyway, there are many ways how they can still fight for the field or set up a field connection, and without a meeple, it's just difficult to stop them. So I like your decision, both to drop the last farmer and then to shift gears and get yourself a meeple back. Also, it needs to be pointed out that 4 points from this 10-point sacrifice were immediately recuperated by you scoring 4 here. So yeah, meeple in this situation was just completely invaluable. So in fact, this was a good move. And of course, congratulations to the Vietnam fans. It is the first time Vietnam is participating and already in the top 16. Let's actually look who they're facing. Ilya Slonimsky, who won his group with 5 victories out of 5, and is a strong player, but honestly, I would probably put the portgard as at least even money, or maybe even the favorite, just based on his rating and the move that he's playing. Isloon, of course, has more Team Carcassonne experience and tournament experience. He, in fact, won the World Championship qualifier for countries which do not have a national championship in them, and participated in the World Championship. So that should be a pretty interesting one. Portugal still has a player in the top 16, so they should not be too worried, but I will do my best to make sure that Portugal has a player in this tournament for no more than 3 or 4 more hours. as I am about to play Rui Costa with the screen name Leo da Vinci in about 2 hours. This will be streamed on Nalaheim's channel, to whom many of you are subscribed already. And obviously I won't be streaming this myself because Rui is a really strong opponent and I need to be focused on the game and I can't talk during that time. And you can look through the other pairings here. I don't think anything has been scheduled for the upcoming week. Let's just double check that actually. Thank you, Vika. I could use some good luck. I want the same good luck that I had in my duel against Leo da Vinci in the Mind Sports Olympiad, or even better. Yep, no updates indeed, so nothing from the round of 16 has been yet scheduled. Oh, look, Sergey, very prompt with the updates. Portgard's already listed in his pairing versus Isloon. So we'll be keeping an eye on the schedule and I'll try to cover all of these matches, or most of these matches whenever timing allows. And then maybe finish up the second part of my huge Mind Sports Olympiad recap video while we're at it. Alright, that's it. Make sure to meeple the like button for the algorithm and subscribe for more competitive content like this. Thank y'all so much for watching, and I'm gonna see you soon.